Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Chatting with Chip with Barton College football head coach Chip Hester. I am Wilson Times sports editor Paul Durham behind the camera as always. Coach, tough loss Saturday at Truist Stadium to Wingate. I guess they got payback for that upset you guys laid on them a couple years ago when they were nationally top ranked. But 38-24, and it was just a frustrating day. Your offense played good at times. Overall, not good enough. Defense, play good at times. Overall, not good enough, especially in that first half. And it really, I think, as you said, just added up to really not really playing well in any facet of the game well enough to win. But, you guys did have chances to win that game. We're definitely in it in the second half, fought back in it. Just want to get your thoughts on that game.
Yeah, frustrating day. I'm proud of our guys for fighting back in the second half. They came out and we had a poor ending to the half, and then to come out of halftime and really fight back in it. Had a chance to tie it up, instead had to settle for a field goal. But you're down 4, you're in a good position. Now you're putting some pressure on your opponent. So I'm proud of us fighting back, but just not quite good enough. And that's frustrating. Frustrating as a head coach, because I've got to get our guys ready to play, and obviously we weren't ready to play. And I give Wingate a ton of credit. Coach Wright knows what he's doing. There's a reason they're picked towards the top of the conference every year, and they've been a playoff caliber team because they know what they're doing. And I thought we didn't find a way to stop them enough, and we weren't consistent enough on offense. Had some moments on both sides of the ball that were really good. I thought we created some turnovers in the second half, which enabled us to get back into the ball game. But then we started turning the ball over a little bit, and that's when you dig yourself such a big hole in the first half, you can't make a lot of mistakes in the second half, and we made too many. Frustrating day. You don't want to lose homecoming ever, and so it was frustrating. I know our guys were disappointed and frustrated, but that's why we talk about every week. You've got to treat this week as a week of its own, and try to find a way to go to 1-0 this week.
Yeah, well, we're still talking about last week for right now at least, but I think that underscored a point that you make all the time about those turnovers. You guys were thoroughly outplayed in the first half. Down 28-7, probably should have been 28-14 or at least 28-10 or whatever. You had a chance to score at the end. You got inside the 2. But the point is, you got outplayed, and within 2 turnovers in the second half, there you were knocking on the door about to tie it and, cut it to 4. And, we're still in the game, plenty of time to play until, those 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter pretty much took you out. So it's a huge thing when it goes your way. And obviously, I don't know if you guys came in at halftime and said, call some turnovers, because they sure did go out there and do that in the third quarter. And that allowed y'all to get back in. But I think in the first half, just really trying to catch up. That defense has always, we talked about it all year, break, not bend. They didn't break in the first half, but they came close. Boy, they got steamrolled 4 out of 5 possessions by Wingate. Just a tough day all around to try to figure out what Coach Wright and his crowd were scheming Saturday.
Again, another key, you mentioned the turnovers, the rushing battle. We lost, and it was a landslide, the rushing battle. And I think if again, it goes both ways on defense. If you can't shut down a run and make a team one-dimensional, well then they're hard to defend. And the same thing on offense. If they're able to shut down our run or really quiet it down, it makes it tough to be balanced. And if you're balanced, you're hard to defend. And so I think you give Wingate a lot of credit. They made some quarterback Bentley made some great throws. I mean, on 3rd and long, we get them in 3rd and long situations, and they're converting. And they were pinpoint passes, and had some guys in position, but just couldn't quite make the play. And so at some point you say they're pretty good, and they did a nice job. Looking back, there were some moments that we missed out on, and we missed some things, and so that's frustrating. At the end of the half, you referenced it a little earlier. We get down and have some bad luck. You have some bad luck. We've got a pass called. I think that's the right situation. We don't have any timeouts. And then we have a player try to make a play, so he tries to run it in. Well, helmet gets knocked off, and you get the rule that's an automatic 10-second runoff, and you don't have a timeout. So if we could have saved a timeout from earlier, or if we had just thrown the ball away, we'd probably been better off. And that's when, that's on me. I've got to make sure that our quarterback knows exactly why we're calling a pass, and so that's frustrating on my part, because I've got to communicate that a little better and make sure that we're on the same page. But that goes from 28-14. All of a sudden now it's 28-7. You come out of the second half and you put 2 scores on, and all of a sudden you're tied up. So frustrating day in a lot of respects, and I think hopefully another learning experience for us as a football team, as a football program. You've got to learn from your losses, and we've been talking about it all year. Even when we had some wins, we kept saying, "Hey, it's good to find a way to win, but we got to get better." And don't feel like we made enough progress. Obviously, last week, and our focus after watching the film on Monday morning is to turn around and start looking forward, because it doesn't do any good for our football team to look backwards.
No, not dwell on it for sure. I will say this: that one play where Jaquan Lynch tried to make it in the end zone on that play, that lineman for Wingate came out of nowhere and knocked his helmet off. It was like one of those little stand-up characters on the shooting range. He just popped up, and I mean, if you watched it in the replay or just watched it live, it was just like, whoa, where did that guy come from?
Yes.
So, I mean, sometimes you just, things seem like they're the right thing to do at the moment. And, probably 9 out of 10 times that play ends up as a touchdown. But again, I think, it's no secret. It hasn't been a secret for 3 years. You want to play Barton, you want to stop number 1.
Absolutely.
And that's Jordan Terrell. And, for 2 straight weeks, you have had really, really good defenses do just that. I think the passing game has struggled, but it was a lot better Saturday. It had to be perfect is the problem.
Right.
Because when you take away such a big run component, you really have to be perfect. And I thought the play call, I mean, you had a touchdown pass from Cam Johnson to Jaquan Lynch. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, I do. I think, Wingate all year has been really tough on defense, something we talked about last week about how tough they were on defense, and I don't think that anyone has scored more points on their defense than we did.
That's right.
So, but you're right. Our team is built to try to find some kind of balance, and it's built off the run, and they were able to take it away, and luckily we've got a guy that Cameron Johnson had just a wonderful day. I mean, almost 200 yards of total offense, with 11 yards rushing and 180 some yards receiving. So, we made some plays and just didn't make quite enough. Again, we've talked about the margin of error against really good football teams like Wingate is pretty small, and so you make a couple of big mistakes and don't take opportunities when they're presented, then you're gonna have a uphill climb.
Yeah, and that was just a classic South Atlantic Conference battle between 2 teams, and the margin for error is next to nothing. And it's, that's boy, it'd be nice to get in a blowout win at some point, wouldn't you think? But look, you don't have any non-conference games like you did Bluefield a couple of years ago, where you really celebrated homecoming the right way. But hey, it is what it is. And now you're getting on the road, and you're going up to a familiar place in Salisbury to play at Catawba. This is only your second trip there since not being the Catawba head coach. And the last time you were on the home sideline. Has it changed for you a whole lot to take that trip back to Salisbury since the last time you left a couple of years ago?
Well, we've got of course family friends that are still in Salisbury, so I'm through Salisbury. My daughter helps coach the volleyball team there. That's not her full-time job, but she helps a little bit. So I have been through, and it's a special place. It'll always be a special place for me. But my heart is in Wilson, and so this is home for me. And I've it did the last time we played there to be on the opposite sideline did feel weird, but this is where I need to be, and I'm excited to be coaching these guys. And I think this is a big character kind of game for us to see how we'll fight. And there's no promises, there are no guarantees. Catawba has been a dangerous football team this year. They were up 14-0 on Limestone. Limestone came back and ended up beating them. But this is a team that has done that against really good competition. And so we've got our hands full. We've got our hands full. I think they've got their hands full too. We're a team that's got our back against the wall. It's no fun to lose, and our guys, I think, have got a lot of they put a lot into this, and so they want to make the most of it. And we're counting on our senior leadership and our leaders on their football team to really set a tone with our guys throughout this week of practice, and then play with a lot of speed on Saturday, play with effort, and play with the right attitude.
Well, for the first time, I guess, with Catawba, it's not quite as familiar with you because Coach Walker's gone. Your former colleague had been there as long as replaced you, I guess, after you left, and was the defensive, or he came back. I guess he was your defensive coordinator when you were the offensive coordinator at Catawba, when you guys were both the coordinators. But he's gone, so a whole new set of folks there. I guess you're not as familiar with what not that it really made a whole lot of difference, but at least you had some idea of what Coach Walker might be thinking.
Right. Coach Haynes this year's his first year. He comes to Catawba from Shepherd, which is a Division II powerhouse up north, and so it's a different looking team. They've got a transfer quarterback, and they like to throw the ball all over the place, and then they're capable runners as well. But you're right, it's a different scheme. Coach Haynes hired Connis Hubbard, who was a guy that I recruited to Catawba, and he was on the staff when I was coaching as well. We hired him. So he is one of the, on the defensive side of the ball, coaches the defensive line, I think a co-coordinator. So there's still some familiar faces over there. But this is going to be a battle. And again, South Atlantic Conference every week. I've said it every week, and I believe every week we're capable of beating anyone on our schedule, and we're also capable of getting beat by anyone on our schedule. And so you've got to play well. And I think it's just hugely important for us to take care of the football, and hugely important for us to cause some turnovers. And that is the key to the game. Obviously, we want to try to establish our run game, and we've got to make them one-dimensional. So there's a lot to this game. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It'd be one if I was a paying customer, I'd pay a ticket to see this one. I think it's a kind of a conflict of two styles of football, and so I'm anxious to see how our guys respond. I think I know the answer to that, but I'm excited to see them compete this week.
Absolutely. After 2 straight losses, you want to get a win for sure. And the bigger thing here is, regardless of whatever the end of the season, you guys can still have a really good season. Absolutely. But the big thing to remember is you got 3 games left that are guaranteed, and each one has got to be just like a big and enjoyable thing to go through for each day of practice. That's what you've always preached. Yep. But it's even more so when the rows grow short near the end of the season. I'm sure some of these guys who are probably not going to be here next year are thinking about that at this point. But hey, like I said, it's going to be all about the treats, not the tricks. Hopefully for you guys this Saturday, the last game before Halloween. But we'll be back next week to talk about the Catawba game, and then look forward to that last home game against Limestone looming the following week. So come back and visit with us here on Chatting with Chip.